Hey, hey, hey. Looking good. What is that, my closet door? I'm going to shut my closet door real quick. Okie dokie. Check, check. Hey, check, 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 check. Can you? You can't hear me now? Okay, we are here and we are going to go through Let Go of Being Stupid and Gain Wisdom to Change Your Future. That is the book I'm working on, and it is pretty cool. Oh, I think that's my vent. That's ridiculous. I'm going to change that right now. Getting this room set up for my office space. And let's see, 1, 2, 3. That's actually 1, 3, and 2 in order. I need to get a way to maybe change those. I'm going to put the whole wall with art. It's going to be great. And this is maybe my third quick live stream about just whatever, being in the zone, being here with you. I have been editing this book. This is edition 1. You can see my greasy fingerprints on there, greasy tabs, because I work with my hands for a living at a JOB, and I'm really not liking it. I don't want to be in a JOB anymore. I want to be out in the world, kind of looking at being a writer full time. Now, if you go to my website, polyhart.com, PAULYHART.com, let's do that right now. I'm going to kind of go through Polyhart art, modern chillers, historic thrillers, and wisdom pillars. And at the very up right-hand corner of the large pictures, it says, Let Go of Being Stupid and Gain Wisdom. And click that button. It takes me to a blog. It should take me to the book. You know what? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and change that. LetGoStupid.com takes me to Polyhart.com. Yeah, I need to move that over, don't I? Oh, okay. Click here to buy the book. So if you get, it takes me to your blog, takes you to my blog, and then you can click on the Amazon link. That takes you to, takes you to the page. And it is $70, $70. Now, you might think that that's insane. However, let me tell you something. What you get in this book is 70 chapters. There is Roy, ROY, GBIV, color coordinated chapter sections, segments, selections. Each chapter, I'm on page 365. I can remember that. Each section is 10 chapters. So here we are in red. Red, the Spirit of Yahweh. Read, repeat, remember. In every single chapter, I give a brief 3-word overview. Orange, others over outcome. Yellow is Spirit of Understanding. Yield yesterday's you. I'm no good at this, sorry. Yield yesterday's you. Y1. Neo always knew Kung Fu, where I give a case where in the movie The Matrix, Neo had always known Kung Fu. Anyway, green, Spirit of Strategy, getting greater goals. Blue, belief begets behavior. And that is 10 chapters on that. So there's 10 chapters on every single one. Very intriguing. Indigo, invent investment incomes. 10 chapters there. Those are some good chapters too. I should know, I wrote them. Violet is Victorious Vocational Philosophy. Here, 10 chapters there. So let's kind of go through, you know what, that autofocus thing. Yeah, there it is. I don't like that. I need to change that immediately. Don't know how to do that. I think I need to download the software to that camera so I can make it stop. Or is there a button? There's a button. Yarg. Dun, 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 dun. Is that better or worse? I need to change my lighting as well. At least I got the camera straight. Wait, that's not straight. That would be straight, wouldn't it? Oh, how's that? Okay. In the front of my book, I've been writing little notes to myself, and all throughout the book, I'm writing little notes to myself, how to improve the book, how to change some of this. And I believe that the more I go through it, the more invested I will become in the book, and the more I can create the book to become a better book, which is awesome. I think it would behoove me to make this book better for you, because I believe in you, and I believe that you should believe in you. And I believe that anyone who says that they need to let go of being stupid and gain wisdom to change their future is valuable, in that they understand how they have been foolish in the past. I have been foolish in the past. These lessons are all for me, because I have failed miserably, and I failed humorfully dozens and hundreds of times, and all these stories are in the book. So it really is kind of a wonderful idea that if I can become less stupid and learn how to gain wisdom, then anybody can. So I'm going to kind of do this, and we're going to stop. Oh man, I know where the chapters are. I'm going to do it backwards. It's probably in red. Green? Okay, cool. G7, which I think I'm going to rename $love. Tomorrow comes tomorrow. That's one of the largest lies anyone has ever had to burn into their heart. I'll have the time to think about it later. No, stop. You can't have more later. You can't prepare later. When later comes, it's too late, because it's later. It's not now, it's later. There's an old adage: what's the best time to buy insurance? When you don't need insurance. When you can't, you buy insurance. When you need insurance. That's one of the coolest things about insurance, is that it insures you against loss. And when you need insurance, you can't buy insurance. So the best time to start is right now. That's actually the second best time to start. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time to start is right now. Tomorrow comes tomorrow. You can't have more later. You can't save more later unless you're doing it right now or earlier. You can't prepare later. When later comes, it's too late, because it's later. Time isn't money, but you can buy time with money. What do I mean by that? Let's say Consuelo and Jose want to mow your yard, and they're going to charge you $100 to do everything. I mean, that includes weeding, that includes trimming the bushes, that includes, raking and everything, burning the piles of leaves or whatever. $100. And that's going to, maybe it's going to run in between 30 minutes to 2.5 hours, depending on how good they are, depending on what you got going on. Let's just say it's a 2-hour job. Well, that's $50 an hour they're making. And that's a lot of money for them to make $50 an hour. However, if you can find something to do that's more valuable than $50 an hour, then hire them and spend your 2 hours that they're working doing something that's more productive. So you can't buy more of your life, except that you can buy time with your money that you already have. So, for instance, if it's going to cost me $20 to get a meal, and that costs whatever restaurant, the time to do that meal, if it's saving me an hour of shopping preparation and cooking, if it's saving me an hour and that's only $20, then that's $20 an hour. Am I finding something in my life that's more valuable than $20 an hour? If the answer is yes, then I'm going to do that. There's a internet sensation, entrepreneur, YouTube extraordinaire genius named Alex Hormozy, and he used to, when he was running his gym, he used to go to Chipotle 2 times a day and eat Chipotle because it was just easy and it was, according to him, inexpensive, and it was, everything he needed. He varied his menu, he varied his diet, he got good ingredients, I suppose. And he said that going to Chipotle was more valuable for his time than anything else. So more power to him. But if you can find something to purchase more time for your life, then get that. And it doesn't matter what it is. If somebody else is good at it and you're not, and they're charging less money than your time, do it. So, you can buy time with money. That's what you need to work on hard and getting ready for tomorrow right now. I look at my lovely wife and I tell her that I'm going to cheat on her. Of course, her eyebrows and forehead say it before she does. Oh. And I tell her that I'm stealing from her now and giving it to an old lady. With hands on hips, she raises her voice again and gives me an even louder, oh. And then I finally tell her the old lady is her future self. She laughs and finally understands what I mean. Oh, I love my wife. I'll take care of her later along with myself. When King David from the Bible, was on the run from Saul, running for his life, he hid from the enemy. He took care of the now. But that didn't mean he ate his seed corn. What do I mean by eating your seed corn? Sorry about that bump. Eating your seed corn means if you are a farmer and you have a bushel, that bushel, you can sell some of the corn to pay your taxes. You can sell some of the corn to pay your bills. And then you can eat some of the corn, but then you have to always have a remainder. The remainder of your corn is your seed corn for the next season. Eating your seed corn is the stupidest thing any farmer could ever do, or your seed wheat. If you're going to eat your seed for the next season, you're done. You're living on credit cards and debt, and you're going to sink fast. So don't ever eat your seed corn. So when David was running from Saul, he was still preparing for the future. He planted seeds and waited for the harvest. He had enough to make the little burg that he was in Ziklag, prosper and grow. And even the king of the Philistines said he found no fault with him. And I talked about David in the last chapter, so that's why I kind of go into this chapter with David. He did what he needed to do in the present to prepare for the future. He never knew how Saul would get got. Saul eventually died. He didn't help Saul meet his demise, so he didn't try to hurt the people that were hurting him. He knew God was going to take care of him. Though he was ready to defend his purpose that he immediately gotten, he knew you reap what you sow. Don't be deceived. God isn't a liar and won't be mocked. You do reap what you sow. What do I mean by that? When you go into life with open hands and full of love and you're giving and you're a generous person, you're going to create for yourself a spiritual reciprocity loop. You're going to sow goodness and you're going to reap goodness. If I say that I'm going to just love people and I give love in spoonfuls, here's a little bit of love, here's a little bit of love, I'm going to reap love in cupfuls maybe. But if I'm giving love in cupfuls, I'm going to reap in bucketfuls. If I'm giving love in bucketfuls, I'm going to reap in bathtubfuls. If I'm giving love in bathtubfuls, I'm going to reap pool-size love. It's the same thing with any virtue, or even any vice. If I'm giving hatred in spoonfuls, I'm going to get hatred back in cupfuls. It's the principle of sowing and reaping, because any fool can count the seeds in an apple, but only time and God can count the apples in the seed. Think about how many apples in one seed. Untold amounts. One seed becomes one tree. One tree produces 10,000 apples over time. 1,000,000 apples over time. We don't know. If you take care of it, if you're a tree planted by the rivers of living water, that's what Psalms 1 says, then you will bring forth your fruit in your season, again and again and again and again and again. And then you can take those fruits and plant again. So it's insanity. It is insanity. It's amazing what the Bible teaches about farming. It teaches about life. So if I'm giving love, I get love. Spiritual reciprocity. You get what you give. And it's not karma, it's bigger than karma. That's why Jesus said, he that lives by the sword dies by the sword. Because you just, according to what you sow into your life, you're going to get back. So let go of eating tomorrow's harvest. We're talking about seed corn, going back to that. Let go of devouring tomorrow for the sake of today. Tomorrow is Yahweh's problem. Remember, when the Lord said, pray like this, give me today my daily bread. And then earlier in Matthew 5, 6, and 7, he said, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to take care of itself. Don't fret. Don't just get all like, oh no, full of anxiety and having this panic attack about tomorrow, because you can't prepare. As much as you do prepare, you can't foresee what your preparations are going to happen. So I expect the best and I prepare for the worst. And that's pretty rough. And it sounds like such a pessimistic view. What do you mean you prepare for the worst? Well, I do. I have a pocket knife with me. I have a lighter with me. I have a first aid kit with me. I've got a jack. I've got a fix-a-flat in my truck. I've got road flares. I've got this and that and the other. So I'm ready and prepared, like a good Boy Scout would be. But at the same time, I expect happiness and a safe trip and no accidents. But at the same time, if I have an accident, I've got a high-vis vest, and I've got cones. I'm just ready. But we can't foresee, because only God can foresee the future. But we prepare. So the best farmer, he's going to plant different types of seeds in different fields, and he's going to fertilize them all differently. And he's going to maybe say, I'm going to have this genetically modified over here. I'm going to have this genetically modified over here. I'm going to put, what are they called? It's the type of seed, heritage, but heritage seeds on these, and these. And then typically one of these fields would be great, just abundance. It's called a bounty. And then a lot of them will just be okay. And then a couple of them won't do anything at all. But because he's diversified his seeds, he's going to be great. And that's why I talk about diversification in your investment strategies. So in the 1980s, there were really neat places called banks, and they were pretty cool. They were wonderful worlds where you could open a savings account, and they would give you 20 cents on the dollar. Some of you are too young to remember this or even know about this or even have never heard of this, but I used to get 14% on average when I was in the bank and a savings and loan. If you needed to transfer your savings to another bank, you would get a counter check. Physically travel to the new bank, give them your check. It would take 10 days to clear the check, sometimes just a phone call if you knew the right people, they knew you, and then your money would get to the new bank. God's banks are easier than humans' banks. And here's why I almost retitled this whole chapter, $love. God's currency is larger than crypto and better than gold. There's over a bajillion God's banks, but they're all owned by the same owner. So every time you transfer from one God bank to another God bank, it always clears. You don't have to make a phone call. You just know it's going to happen because it's perfect. The currency of God's transfer never needs approval by the manager or clerk. They never need to be signed or co-signed. There's no counterparty risk when you buy or embrace God's currency. You always have a perfect achievement of cash flow. God's currency always gives you high appreciation. The cash on cash return for God's currency is splendid. The interest rates are variable. The returns are always between 3,900% to about 9,900%. There's a verse in the Bible that says, given it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give unto your bosom, for the same manner you give shall be given back. So some reap 30, 60, 90 fold. So 30 fold, it's about 3,000%. God's money spins the world over. It always spins. God's money always spins, and his currency is love. It's amazing. Typically, there are no laws made against God's money. And there shouldn't ever be any laws against God's money. Sometimes countries and jurisdictions make laws against this. And oh my, they always find out that the returns on going against God's money hurts them in the long run. Earthly trouble and ruin always follow a society bent on the destruction of God's money. And I think you'll find that true. Anytime you find a society that's hell bent on viciousness, or excuse me, I'm gonna get up a delicious Fresca. I'm not sponsored by Fresca, but I sure do enjoy them. Anytime you find a society hell bent on hurting others for their own whatever reason, you're going to find a society that just is going to die quickly, or over time become just a cesspit of just insurmountable woe. The clown named Mr. Twister. Mr. Twister, Mr. and I've talked to him. I've written him an email asking him about the story. Was a force for good in the city of Santa Cruz, California, in the mid-1900s. He would violate the law and put money in parking meters for people. He was a clown. He went around downtown. He put coins in meters for people. He was just blessing them with free parking. He didn't believe that parking should be paid for. He would violate the law, put money in parking meters. Meter feeding, quote unquote, was a misdemeanor in the city, and he got in trouble several times for donning his red nose and going around with a bag full of quarters, giving people free parking. In Santa Cruz, it was against the law to help people by paying for their parking. That's God's money. That's love. And it was transferred to the United States Mint, run by the Federal Reserve Bank in the form of a $quarter coin. And he got a bunch of those and went around and blessed the people of Santa Cruz by loving them, but by blessing them with free parking. Like maybe their meter was just about to run out, and they were still in the courthouse, and he came out and he just made sure they didn't get a ticket. So why is that evil? Well, Santa Cruz, California thought it was bad. Santa Cruz today, and this is the mid-1900s, so 1990s. So Mr. Twister went around in the mid-1990s, 95, I think he said, I'm done. I'm finally done. I can't remember the year it was, but he said, you know what, I've been in trouble too many times that I can't afford to keep getting in trouble. So he said he's going to stop. Well, today, Santa Cruz, California is one of the worst places to live in the United States of America. One of the worst. Homelessness has driven the cost of affordable city housing through the roof. Trash trucks cannot run because of all the homeless tents littering the streets. Road construction and repair has stopped because crews can't even repair the potholes. The city is a mess. Now, is that related? We don't know. I'm going to say yes. Did Mr. Twister cause this? No. Was a law against goodness the cause? Not directly, but when one is punished for doing good deeds, the one inflicting the punishment is the true villain, right? Police forces are nothing more than government gangs sanctioned to uphold the law and city codes and ordinances or whatever. When society places laws against love, the society suffers. And you may have been seeing this with the the non-payment of SNAP. I'm not political. I'm just saying maybe. The one inflicting the punishment is the true villain. When a society places laws against love, the society suffers. I'm not saying Santa Cruz is suffering because they persecuted clowns or meter feeders. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that spiritual reciprocity works. The law of sowing and reaping. What you plant, you harvest. God's money is love. It's measured by the drop, by the cup, by the bucket, by the bathtub full, by the ocean full. Give, it will be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, running over. The law of money is amazing. The law of money is God's love. The law of money is love. And I mean God's love. Maybe I should reword that. Yeah. The interest on $love is the best interest ever. So I'm not sure about the amount, but I've bought food for the homeless. I'm not virtue signaling or humble bragging or anything. I'm just saying I've done this when I felt the need arose. And it's a neat feeling. It makes you really feel really like, wow, this guy really got to eat some good food. I've done good things for people without the need for repayment. I've sown $love into their hearts and minds of people all over the world. Some of the most wonderful feelings I've ever had were blessing people that I knew needed to be blessed. They did. They needed to be blessed, and It was just, I was like, I'm going to go do this thing. And sometimes I did it in secret. And sometimes I tell them months later. Sometimes I just give it to them, hey, I really feel like this is one. And I'm going to share the story of when I was in school with Tanya. Tanya was sitting outside on the bench, a little wooden swing. I had never seen her out there before. She was typically a person who just stuck around by herself, didn't want to have anything to do with anybody. Just, she's just a person who just likes being by herself. I was out there on the on my balcony, and I saw her down there. I was like, huh. And God said, go tell her that I love her. And I said, okay. So I went down there, and of course, when you feel the unction inside, like, oh, God told me to say this. If you just repeat scripture, you're not wrong, right? Because he did tell you, go into all the world and preach the gospel. So if you just feel led to go tell someone something, make sure it's scripture, make sure it's scriptural. You don't want to be weird about something. Just give them some generalities, and then maybe something will pop up. So I went down there and told her, hey, Tanya, I know we don't talk much. And I sat down next to her, I think. We don't talk much, but I just wanted to tell you that, you're loved. God loves you. And don't quit. Don't give up. Don't give in. You can do it. You can make it. You can charge through the fire. You can make sure, you're going to win in the end. You've got this. You can do this. And I say that to everybody I meet pretty much when we get into maybe a 5-minute long or longer conversation. Even one of the guys that I work with was pretty much harassing me today, and because he thinks that I didn't do something right on Friday or something like that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to say thank you all day. And so I said thank you 4 times, and his response was to run me over with the crane. Well, that's okay. I forgive him. So you just always sow love, because there's a verse in the Bible that says, vengeance is mine, I will repay. And who said that? That's God. God said that. So it's interesting that verse has even been used by him. He's the one who the Holy Spirit talks to about that verse a lot. But he's just got this crazy mean temper. He's a mean person. But you know what? God loves him. And so I'm going to love him too, because that's what I'm supposed to do. So if I'm going to be more like Jesus, remember the old wristbands, what would Jesus do? Love, just forgive, accept, move on. Because I'm not carrying that unforgiveness on my back. That's not my job, right? It's not my job to carry somebody's unforgiveness on my back. I'm just going to be a loving person and just love them and just keep on keeping on, right? I don't care. You can run me over with a crane. That's fine. I'll go to the hospital, get out, and I'll love him. Anyway. So Tanya, sorry, I got really sidetracked there. So Tanya is sitting there on the bench, and she goes, she's from Michigan. She was like, you know what? I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. That was nice. I appreciate you. What do you do? Hey, gee golly there, hey, don't you know? So, and then she gets up and leaves. And then it was that Friday we got together in one of our little groups, one of our little church groups, little Bible study groups. And she said, I was thinking about quitting. But along comes Polly and sat down next to me and told me to keep on pursuing, so I'm not going to quit. I'm like, what? And I didn't say that. I didn't say those words, but that's the words in my heart that came out. That was love. God told her that. So I didn't say those words to her, but God told her that. I just said, keep on. You got this. You can do it. I wasn't talking about the program we were in. I was talking about life, just generality of pursuant towards the purpose of pushing the envelope to become a better you. And I've always been about that. I have no other purpose besides preaching the gospel, and that was just the gospel she needed right then, basically. So you never know, because in her life, I don't know, and I guess she I'm glad she stayed. But I don't know. I'm happy she stayed if that's what she was supposed to do. She met her husband there, and they're still married today. So maybe I helped. I don't know. Who knows? But so that's not humble bragging or virtue signaling. It's just you do the thing because you don't care who gets the credit. Like some of the most amazing things in the world have happened because no one worried about who got the credit for it. And it's like, wow, it's amazing what can be accomplished when no one worries about who takes the credit. And so we just give, and we just keep on giving, pursuing. Every single thing in my life over here, and it's bad. I let go of that. I'm not cut. That's glue. It's a red glue. Sorry, I just remembered. I was going to tell you. Oh, are you okay? Yes. You just keep on keeping on. The only way you lose is when you quit, basically. Some of the most wonderful feelings I've ever had were blessing people I knew needed to be blessed. I remember dropping groceries off at a friend's door who was a single mother and telling her that I did it when she freaked out to all of us later. I swore her to secrecy, and that's been my idiom ever since. People don't need to know who did what, just that it got done. Many of the things I've done you'll never know about because you don't need to know. It mattered to the person I did it to. It mattered to me. It mattered to God, but you don't need to know because that's not what I'm about. I'm not about, bragging. It doesn't matter. Something cool got done for somebody, and I was just a tool. I was just the servant. If the spade and the hoe and the shovel and the trowel all got into an argument about who gets to move the dirt, none of the dirt gets moved because the tools are arguing with each other. And I know that's a ridiculous analogy, unless you have morphize all the hand tools you're using. It doesn't matter if the auger gets the work done or if the post hole digger gets the work done. It's just a different tool to move the thing. And that's what I am. I'm just a tool, as we all are in the hands of God. And why are we disobedient tools? I don't know. I will share two stories that are quite interesting. When I was in Bible school, I was known by several of the people there as quote unquote the resource man, because I would randomly just find things for people or find people for people or hook up people with other people that didn't know. And just, I just kind of knew who did what and where the stuff was, right? I was just called the resource man. One time I gave away an apartment full of furniture once to a newlywed man who just bought his wife a new apartment and it was unfurnished. 4 years later, I bought a house under land contract for a sixth of the value of the house. And I remember this guy. He was working for Bill Clinton. He was working for the Bill Clinton election campaign. And it was at a very, very Christian organization. And he said, a lot of people hate me. I said, why do they hate you? He says, because of what I'm doing here. I said, are you, do you believe this and this and this? He's like, yeah. I said, you're a good person. He's like, yeah, I just really, needed a job and Bill Clinton's campaign was hiring. So I was like, okay, well, what do you need, man? He's like, well, I just moved into this place. So I gave him all my furniture. I had a bunch of other people leave and they put their stuff by the dumpster. And I said, can I have that stuff? So they brought it to my house, and it wasn't bad stuff. It was just living in a college dorm area. People just decided to leave after their, semester was done. They had furniture, so they just gave it away or threw it out. Yeah, I wouldn't take stuff from the frat houses because it was always stained with beer, other fluids. But I did take stuff from people who were moving out, and I had some really awesome, cool stuff, and I didn't use it. And I had 3 roommates in my apartment, and we didn't have any of the regular furniture that the apartments came with, just because I was already furnished by me. So they were a little bit upset that all the furniture just disappeared overnight, but this guy and his new wife were happy. So then later, I was working for he just owned a lot of houses, and he was refurbishing the houses and renting them out. And he just kind of really felt led by God to let me buy a house on land contract, which I don't know if you know what that means, but it's basically where you purchase the land and the house comes with it for free. And so I just basically bought this house for a very, very low value. And later on, I had a car that was given to me by this guy who literally worked on BMWs and Hondas, and he just really felt like I should have this car, so he gave me a car. It was beautiful. Yeah, and it all came back, and I sometimes I know when I get something cool, like randomly out of the air, that I know that God did that because of the seeds I've sown in my life in the past. And sometimes I'll ask God, I say, you know what? I did some stupid stuff when I was, whatever, 12. Will you please kill those bad seeds? I don't know if that works or not, but I've always asked for them not to be fertilized. If there's a way, kill the bad seeds and bless the good ones. I remember giving away more than one car. Okay, so that's exactly where I was going with that. And I've had cars given to me. Love investment works. And we're at the end of the chapter. So I have some things at the end of the chapter. Each chapter has some questions and action steps. I'll get to those in a minute. Here's where it gets kind of strange. Sometimes love disappears inside the bank. The bank gets a deposit, then you never see it again. Trust the bank manager. Who's the bank manager? God, the one who made everything in the way. Then when you trust the bank manager, there's not been a mistake. There's not been a mistake. Your deposit has been moved to another branch. What does that mean? I was living in Lafayette, Indiana, and made a lot of money and moved down to Savannah, Georgia, which is, I live in the Savannah area now. Pretty big area, widespread, just, lots of places to live over here. So I live here now. I bought some, the best real estate that I bought was the three plots over at Bonaventure Cemetery. You can come visit me when I'm dead at Bonaventure Cemetery. Just look up Holly Hart. And it's some of the best real estate that I've done. So I plan on being here for quite some time, if not indefinitely, at least my body. And so I didn't know some of the things that I was sowing in the past when I lived in Kansas or Oklahoma or Texas or Florida or the Virgin Islands or Michigan. When I lived in all these places, I was sowing for my Georgia years, and that's just what happened. I've been blessed here, and I didn't sow here, but I was blessed here. So sometimes your things that you sow, you might never even see them, but your grandchildren might redeem some of those investments. That's in the book of Deuteronomy in the Bible. It talks about blessings going down the generations. Just generation after generation is blessed because you were blessed, because you obeyed God. So you never know when the investment will come fruition, but trust that it always does. It always does. God's money always comes through. The hamburger that you bought for that man is on record. It is being held in the quote unquote tornado account for when you encounter the tornado 16 years from now. What you don't know is that when you fed that man, you restored his faith in humanity. He got the job. He owns the business. He's doing quite well. He restores homes. He heard about the tornado. He, quote unquote, got a hunch to go volunteer after the disaster that destroyed your house. Guess what? He sees you. He remembers you. He ran up to you and told you his story about when you gave him the hamburger, when his life turned around. And it was you, because you did that for him. And now he's here, and he's going to restore your house. He's going to build you a brand new house for free. He tells you he's going to do it through tears, through trembling. You guys are crying. There's snot everywhere. It's just a wonderful reunion. And that this may happen. It may never happen, but it just might happen. That this is how God chooses to bless him and bless you, just in different times, right? Because God stands outside of time and sees the whole thing and says, okay, I'm going to take a little bit here and put it over here. I'm going to take a little bit here and put it over here. Cool. If this guy's obedient, I'll grab that, put it over here. If this woman's obedient, I'll grab that and put it here. And he does that. He moves around the dividends because he loves you. It's just that simple. God loves you. Everyone cheers when he tells them all that he's going to rebuild your house. Well, sure, Polly, you say. Is that ever going to happen? Well, don't ever underestimate love. Don't ever be like Santa Cruz, California. So that's the end of this chapter. This is chapter G7. And yeah, it took me a little while to get through 3 or 4 pages, but that's okay. Check it out. G7 levels of understanding. So what I do here, gosh, I'm so ridiculous. Here. Okay. So I talk stupidity, ignorance, knowledge, and wisdom. And then I have action steps. So stupidity, and people say, well, ignorance is actually the very end. It's the very beginning. But I'm like, yes, except that when you're ignorant, you actually know nothing. And then when you choose stupidity, you go backwards. You go downwards. So I put stupidity first always. Stupidity. Monday through Thursday, I work just enough to keep the boss off my back. Then it's party time. So after all this talk about reciprocity and love and tomorrow comes tomorrow, all the stupid people think about it, just words off of their head, water out of the ear. It's just like in one ear and out the other. Nothing phases them because they're stupid on purpose. Monday through Thursday, I just work enough to keep the boss off my back. Then on Friday, I slough off and it's party time, and I'm not even going to care about what happens to me. That's just stupidity. Let go of that. Now, ignorance is the ununderstanding that you don't even know that you don't know. Ignorance is what children have, what babies have. You've got to apply yourself and climb the corporate ladder. That's just complete ignorance. Apply yourself and climbing the corporate ladder means that you've sold yourself into slavery. And what are you doing with your life? So here's knowledge. Knowledge is number 3. Knowledge says, I'd rather own my own ladder than climb someone else's. Now that's smart. That's pretty smart, but you can be a little bit better. Here's wisdom. I must sow love and do it every day. If my returns do not come back immediately the way that I've sown them, I must understand that they will come back eventually, no matter what. The law of love gives dividends no matter what the currency is that you pay into it. Whether it's time, energy, money, it doesn't matter. You're going to get back what you put in exponentially. Love is the magical bank vault that changes all forms of altruism into an account in your name. That's the wisdom of this entire chapter, G7. Now, G7 action steps at the very end. 3 things. Start, stop, and continue. We just said, okay, here we go. Red light, yellow light, green light. Start, finding ways to sow into others. Stop being so selfish. Continue looking for people, places, and things to help. So that, my friend, is why I'm charging $70 for this book. Because wouldn't you agree that that is a great lesson? G7, I mean, we've been on here for 42 minutes and 45 seconds. That's great. That's wonderful. And if you took just that chapter and you applied it in your life, you could make $700 if you were just that chapter. If you're smart, you can make $700 with this book. If you're wise, you can make $7,000 to $700,000 in this book. So the cost of this book is approximately the average of a college tuition, classroom book. You know, the textbook for whatever class you're in, it's around $70. It doesn't matter that you're going to call this a college textbook. It's not a college textbook, but it's basically, I don't know if you can see them on, there we go, that top shelf there. Those are all Bibles, Bible, basic instructions before leaving Earth. And I'm not saying that this is second best to that. I'm just saying this is one of many. There are books out there that can change your life. This is one of them. Because all the stuff I got in here, I got from these. I got from these books. I got from those books right there. Everything that I got in there, I got from the Bible. Everything. And my own life. Because I've seen how I've been stupid. I've seen how I've been an idiot. I've seen how I've been persnickety, precocious, and all full of malfeasance and maliciousness and ridiculousness. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I have been stupid so many times with every substance that you can imagine, with every person you can imagine, with just every situation you can imagine. I've just done silly things. And what works is the things that I've discovered. And Roy G. Biv is the rainbow. Obviously, Roy G. Biv is the rainbow. Yeah. Anyway, Roy G. Biv is a rainbow, and in the Bible, it talks about the Holy Spirit as 7 candlestands, and they go through 7 forms of the Holy Spirit. The 7 spirits of God is mentioned in Isaiah, Revelation, and I just kind of put the main muses, the main spirits of God, into a rainbow and said that should do it. That should work. That should cover all of the areas where I can let go of being stupid and gain wisdom to change your future. The premise of this book is the very beginning. It's Proverbs chapter 8, and I'll just show it to you instead of quoting it to you. Take heed unto knowledge, O you ignorant. Be wise in your heart, O you fools. Proverbs 8:5, the 1535 Coverdale Bible updated. And that's actually my own translation, is the updated Coverdale Bible. I actually need to finish translating the whole thing. But I have so many books to write. I've written 100 books, and maybe I'll get to 1,000 by the time I'm dead. I don't know. I'm never going to stop writing because that's how I'm supposed to be doing things. God told me to preach, write, and sing, so here I am preaching. And one day I'll finish writing, and then I'll die. And then you can watch this on Patreon. I love you. Have a good day. God bless you. Be in peace. And goodbye.